For years now, we've been hearing rumours of Intel's big Battle Mage gaming GPU, which presumably would be the B770. We've heard it's incoming time and time again, but of course it never did. We got the B580 back in late 2024, and then the cut-down B570 in early 2025, but that's it. Intel never built out their Arc Battle Mage GPU range like we'd hoped. Well, that was until recently, though unfortunately they've gone about it in a way that it's not exactly appealing to gamers because, as you probably guessed, Intel has refocused their efforts towards AI. As a result, we now have the Arc Pro B70. So this is Big Battle Mage in all of its glory, just not for gamers, as it packs 32GB of GDDR6 memory, and as a result, the MSRP has been set at $1,000 US. So a rather pointless product then, at least as far as we're concerned, but while it may not be something that we recommend you buy for gaming, I'm personally still very interested to learn how it does perform in games. After all, this is just a Battle Mage GPU, and it does have full driver support for games. It's also a product that really would have ended up in the hands of gamers had it not been for the AI hype, which, you never know, could run its course shortly, and perhaps if that does happen, Intel would release a B770 version with less VRAM. Today's sponsor spot is brought to you by Thermal Grizzly and the new Duranaut High Performance Thermal Paste. Duranaut offers extreme long-term stability combined with outstanding thermal conductivity, and this has been achieved through a specially engineered silicon oil combined with aluminium microparticles and zinc oxide nanoparticles of various shapes. Duranaut isn't electrically conductive and won't harden over time. For best performance, you'll want to apply a very thin layer, and to help with this, included is the TG Spatula Pro. The spatula's revised design allows for increased pressure during application, making it easy to spread a thin, even layer of Duranaut. So for more information, please check the link in the video description. Okay, so real quick, what is the Arc Pro B70? Well, it's essentially just a bigger version of the B580 that we're already familiar with. Whereas the B580 packed 20 Xe2 cores, the B70 has been upgraded to 32, and that's a 60% increase in cores, and then the core clock speed has also been increased by 5% to 2.8 GHz. And this silicon is still manufactured by TSMC using one of their older N5 processors. It's just a bigger version, a bigger die. And as a result, there's also 33% more L2 cache at 16 megabytes, with a 256-bit wide memory bus, so the bandwidth has also been increased by 33% to 608 GB per second. Now, another key change has been made to PCIe support. Whereas the B580 was limited to PCI Express 4.0 with a x8 interface, the B70 has been upgraded to PCI Express 5.0 with the full x16 bandwidth. So it essentially has 4 times the PCI Express bandwidth, which makes sense for a workstation part. Anyway, what all this boils down to is that the B70 should be quite a bit faster than the B580 for gaming. But the B580 isn't exactly fast by modern standards, given it was released prior to the current generation AMD and Nvidia hardware, and Intel was already behind. So then, had Intel released an Arc B770, it would basically be the B70, with half as much VRAM and possibly some higher core clocks. That being the case, let's run some gaming benchmarks to see where a potential B770 would stack up in the current market. And for this, I've tested a dozen games at 1080p and 1440p, so let's get into it. Firstly, here's a look at how the ASRock Arc Pro B70 Crater 32GB graphics card performs. And please note, frame rates in this footage were well above 60 FPS, but I had to record using OBS, and I did so on the same PC running the game. So the recorded frame rates aren't great. Apparently Intel is no longer offering screen recording support in their Arc software, which seems a bit odd, but I couldn't find anything, so OBS it is. Anyway, the B70 maintained a core clock frequency of 2.8 GHz, which saw the cores peak at 74 degrees, though this did require a fan speed of around 2500 RPM. The ASRock Crater uses a single blower fan, so it is quite loud under load. The memory also peaked at 74 degrees, while the VRM components ran at up to 82 degrees. Okay, let's get into the blue bar graphs. Starting with Forza Horizon 6 using the Extreme Quality preset, we see that the B70 is 34% faster than the B580, at 1080p, and then 39% faster at 1440p, so a pretty big performance increase there. That said, we are only looking at 5060 Ti and 9060 XT like performance at 1440p, while the workstation Arc GPU is up to 7% slower at 1080p. And it is worth noting that the B580 has a considerably larger die than competing AMD and Nvidia parts, whereas the B70 is really similar to a 9070 XT or RTX 5070 Ti. So that's not great for Intel, especially given they aren't producing them internally, but instead having to pay TSMC. Now, Resident Evil Requiem maxed out, though we haven't enabled path tracing. The performance delta between the two Arc cards narrows significantly, with the B70 being around 21% faster at 1080p, and then 23% faster at 1440p. Now, the glaring headline here is the spectacular collapse of the baseline RTX 5060 at 1440p, cratering to a cinematic 20 FPS due to severe VRAM starvation. While the Arc GPUs look to be suffering from a bit of driver overhead at 1080p, their 12GB plus memory configurations keep frame rates remarkably stable at higher resolutions. Next, we have Spider-Man 2 running with the very high settings, and here we witness a fork in the road for Intel's lineup. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. The B70 is a staggering 92% faster than the B580 at 1080p, and 84% faster at 1440p. Now, the lower tier B580 completely falls off a cliff, rendering just 52 FPS at 1080p. Initially, I thought that perhaps this issue was due to PCI Express bandwidth, given the B70 uses the full x16 bus with the 5.0 spec, but then I manually forced the B70 down to PCIe 3.0 x 8, and this only reduced performance by around 10%. And that still made it much faster than the B580, despite now operating with less PCI Express bandwidth. The other possibility here is VRAM, but the B580 has much more of it than the RX 9060 and RTX 5060, and those GPUs seem to get on just fine here. The B70 also only saw about 11 to 11.5 GB of VRAM used at 1440p in this test, so really the B580 should be perfectly fine. So I have to admit I'm a bit of a loss here. I don't know why the B70 performs so much better than the B580, or perhaps more to the point, why the B580 performs so poorly. It's almost as if the overhead issue discovered with the B580 silicon has been resolved with the B70. Now, moving on to Crimson Desert, we tested here using the cinematic quality preset, but with ray tracing manually disabled. Here the B70 yields a 35% performance advantage over the B580 at 1080p, ballooning to a 41% gap at 1440p. The somewhat fascinating anomaly here is the baseline RTX 5060, which completely chokes on this heavy preset, likely hitting a VRAM limit, as it dropped to an unplayable 30 FPS at 1080p and then 27 FPS at 1440p. The B70 though faces no such issues, comfortably distancing itself from the lower tier GPUs, though it was still a bit slower than the 9060 XT. In Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, running the ultra quality preset, the B70 outperforms the B580 by 30% at 1080p and then 32% at 1440p. Now, while Cyberpunk has historically been Nvidia's playground, the B70 pulls ahead at 1440p, beating the RTX 5060 Ti by a 15% margin. Even the budget-oriented B580 puts in a great fight here, soundly beating the standard RX 9060 at both resolutions. Now, turning to Marvel Rivals, using the medium quality preset this time, the B70 maintains a 40% lead over the B580 at 1080p and then 42% at 1440p. Still, it was slower than both the 9060 XT and 5060 Ti at 1080p, and even at 1440p it still trailed the 5060 Ti by a 7% margin. For Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, we're running the Supreme preset, and frame rates here are pretty impressive. The B70 clocks in at 39% faster than the B580 at 1080p and then 33% faster at 1440p. And as a result, the B70 soundly beat the 9060 XT across the board, though it did still fall short of the 5060 Ti. Even the entry-level B580 dominated the baseline RX 9060 by roughly 15% at 1080p. Up next is Borderlands 4, and for this one we're using the very high settings, not the badass preset, and here we see some good architectural scaling for Battle Mage. The B70 is 39% faster than the B580 at 1080p, and then 38% faster at 1440p. Speaking of 1440p, the B70 actually climbs to the very top of our graph, though to be fair it did tie the 9060 XT, but that did allow it to just beat the 5060 Ti, so we'll count it as a win. Looking at Cities, Skylines II on the medium quality preset, Intel manages to walk away with a real victory. The B70 was 43% faster than its smaller sibling at 1080p and then 45% faster at 1440p, and that made it 10% faster than the 9060 XT at 1080p and 14% faster than the 5060 Ti, though interestingly that margin was reduced to 7% at 1440p. Taking a look at Starfield running the ultra quality preset, the Arc B70 shows a healthy 36% performance advantage over the B580 at 1080p, which settles into a 31% lead at 1440p. Now, as we've seen a number of times now, the B70 scales better at higher resolutions. For example, at 1080p, it split the gap between the standard RTX 5060 and 9060 XT, but when pushing the resolution up to 1440p, it closes the distance to the forerunners, trailing the top-tier RTX 5060 Ti by just a 6% margin. Moving on to Space Marine 2 using the Ultra Quality preset, the B70 holds a 33% lead over the B580 at 1080p, which stretches slightly to 34% at 1440p. Still, it seems the Arc GPUs just aren't optimized well enough for this title, and as a result the B70 lands below the vanilla RX 9060 at 1080p, though it managed to reclaim some ground at 1440p to edge it out by a few frames, but overall a very poor result here. Finally, we have Hogwarts Legacy using the Ultra Quality preset, and in this one, the B70 is 35% faster than the B580 at 1080p and 41% faster at 1440p. Now at 1080p, we do see a three-way gridlock between the B70, RTX 5060 and RX 9060 XT, all tying perfectly with 85 FPS. However, as the resolution scales up to 1440p, the B70 does end up performing better, breaking away from the pack to come in just behind the RTX 5060 Ti. Now, looking over the 12-game average data, we get a good idea of what Intel could have offered with a potential B770. Starting with Intel's internal stack scaling, the Arc Pro B70 delivers a highly consistent performance leap over its smaller sibling, coming in 38% faster than the B580 at 1080p, and maintaining a 39% advantage at 1440p. But when compared to the AMD and Nvidia offerings, the B70 really is at best a mid-range class product. Although it comfortably clears the standard RX 5060 and RX 9060 by double-digit margins, it only manages to roughly match the higher-end versions of those models. And even that's really a bit generous, as it was 11% slower than the RTX 5060 Ti at 1080p, and then just 6% slower at 1440p. Now, when it comes to power consumption, the B70, it's not exactly impressive, given it is quite a large die, again similar to products like the RTX 5070 Ti and RX 9070 XT, and on top of that, it does use an older TSMC node. As a result, power usage, and please note I am combining the EPS and PCIe power usage here, as some GPU architectures lean more heavily on the CPU than others, but as you can see in Space Marine 2, the B70 consumes a similar level of power to the 5070 Ti, making it far more power hungry than the GeForce and Radeon parts that it roughly matched in terms of performance. And we're seeing this in other games that we tested as well. There is a little bit of variation, but overall the B70 does use considerably more power than the RTX 5060 Ti and RX 9060 XT. So had Intel released the Arc B770, it would have been much faster than the Arc B580, as you'd naturally expect, but it is nice to confirm that the Battle Mage architecture does scale really well. The problem is, when compared to current generation AMD and Nvidia GPUs, the B580 is pretty slow now. It falls short of both the RTX 5060 and RX 9060. As a result, the B70, or let's pretend the B770, was at best able to match the 9060 XT, making it 6% slower than the RTX 5060 Ti across the dozen games tested. The 16GB versions of these GPUs are meant to cost $350 US for the 9060 XT and $430 US for the RTX 5060 Ti. Given that, for a theoretical B770, Intel really couldn't have gone with an MSRP higher than about $300 US, which is rough given the B580's MSRP is meant to be $250 US. Of course though, MSRPs mean nothing these days, and as it currently stands, the 9060 XT 16GB is more like $440 US, and the RTX 5060 Ti 16GB, $570 US. In the current market, Intel could possibly charge $400 US for a B770 class product, but realistically, even at today's prices, it would have to be no more than, say, $350 US to convince people not to just buy the Radeon GPU instead. And that's assuming the B770 came with the same 16GB of VRAM. And this would be a huge problem for the B580, as it's currently priced at around $300 US. So a $350 US B770-like product would be less than 20% more expensive, but around 40% faster with 33% more memory. So, in a nutshell, this is why Intel hasn't released a B770. Even prior to the DRAM pricing crisis, it wasn't going to be competitive enough, and now that memory pricing has skyrocketed, they would need to sell it for a similar price to the 9060 XT just to make money. And let's be honest, no one's buying that. There isn't a single gamer that's paying over $400 US for a B70 class product with 16GB of VRAM. Anyway, obviously Intel's keen to cash in on the AI hype, but regardless of whether or not they wanted to, they were really forced to. Pairing 32GB of VRAM with the B70 is really the only way to sell this silicon, so yeah, that's what Intel's done. As much as us gamers would have loved Intel to come in and save the day, undercut both AMD and Nvidia with a B770-like product, unfortunately, it was just never going to happen. And that is going to do it for this video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe for more content. And if you'd like to become a Hardware Unboxed member, we have the join button or Patreon. Doing either one of those things will give you access to our exclusive Discord server, monthly live streams, behind the scenes content, and Q&A stuff. So check that out if you're interested. If not, that's perfectly fine. And I would like to thank you for watching this video. I'm your host, Steve. See you again next time.